Organizations is next between Hannah Bruce, class of 11, and Samantha Scully, class of 09.
Ooh, Bruce!
Okay. Hannah will ask the first question for the student organizations debate, and Sam will be the first responder.
All right. The SOOC has undergone some significant changes this year. How do you foresee the relationship between the SOOC and the SAFC developing over the next few years?
Well, I contacted Arden and I also contacted Hugo to figure out what their stance was and how they saw the SAFC chair and the VP of student organizations interacting for the future. And I really liked what they both had to say, because I also agree that both positions will have to work very closely. Because clubs, their funding is going to depend on what the SAFC sets and their rules. And whether or not I feel that, and my group and my committee feels that they should get funding, is dependent on those rules. So the relationship is going to become closer. I know this past year that Nicole Willey, according to the website, served on the SOOC committee, and therefore I see fit that the future SAFC chair should also serve on it if they deem that it's appropriate and fit. But that even if they don't, whoever gets selected doesn't serve on the committee, that they should have updates on which clubs are chartered, which clubs are being rechartered, which clubs are active, and which clubs aren't active. Because that's going to affect who gets money, who doesn't. And funding is a big part of being sustainable at Bowdoin. Being a club leader here with the Unity Step team, I know that needing money for outfits, needing money so that you can go places is a big part of whether or not you're going to have members coming to your meetings, whether or not you're going to be able to supply them, and to fulfill the mission statement that you set out as a club leader. So that relationship is definitely going to move forward and grow together.
Okay, thank you. Will you repeat the question, and Hannah will have 2 minutes.
All right. The SOOC has undergone some significant changes this year. How do you foresee the relationship between the SOOC and the SAFC developing over the next few years?
Okay. I think it's very important to keep the lines of communication open between the SAFC and the SOOC, so that there's never the possibility for any confusion or conflict between the two organizations. I think that the SOC can keep the SAFC informed about which clubs are chartered and are allowed to have funding, and the SAFC can inform the SOC about the funding that they have allocated and the purpose of that allocated funding. I think that the two committees can work closely together, again, to minimize confusion by creating a cheat sheet or handbook for next year that clearly outlines the main points and facts about creating a budget and putting on a successful event. And I think that the SAFC can also help the SOC reduce overlap. When the SAFC notices that they're about to allocate funding to two similar events or groups, I think that both those groups should be sent back to the SOC to see if the two groups can collaborate together so that the two can work together to put on an even better event.
Okay, thank you, Hannah. Steve will ask a question, and Hannah will respond first.
Funding for student organizations is limited and comes directly of students' pockets. Part of your job as SOOC chair will be to see to it that clubs are both sustainable over time and use resources in proportion to how many students they will be affecting. What will be your strategy for determining which clubs deserve to have charters issued or renewed and which ones shouldn't?
I think that it's really important to make sure that there's no overlap before chartering a club. As vice president, if elected of this committee, I'll be very meticulous when chartering new organizations. I think that we don't need to charter a new club anytime somebody has a great idea for an event on this campus. And we should encourage clubs to be more open to new ideas and helping their peers facilitate great events. And I want to encourage already chartered clubs to step up and help out. And this way funding wouldn't be spread so thinly among groups. And those groups that want to get chartered just to have an event don't have to sort of shut themselves down the year after when leaders don't want to have the same event. So I think that if we can get clubs to really collaborate together, there'll be more allocated money to benefit others on this campus.
Okay, would you like the question repeated?
Oh, no.
Okay, Sam has 2 minutes for the same question.
When this first came up, I emailed every single club on campus, minusing the a cappella groups and also RoboCup, in order to hear what the student leaders on the campus had to say about the way SOC operated with sustainability. And a lot of those leaders got back to me. And basically, in dealing with whether or not SOC is helping rechartering the recharter process and the checking in process, a lot of student leaders wish that there was more interaction going on. So having the people come in, because it's not only going to be me. SOC is not just a person in it, I'm going to be the VP of it, but it's a committee. So making sure that there are BSG members from at least every class on that committee, but then also having students outside of BSG serving on the committee is really important to me. And then taking 2 of them, because I want obviously 4 or for 8, so taking 2 of them to then lead another group to take in certain groups and also checking in on them, seeing what they think their timeline is going to be, see what their budget is going to be, what their program is going to be. In order to be sustainable, you have to make a plan, make a timeline, make a list, but then you have to have somebody there who's going to be backing you, someone who's knowledgeable. So making sure that I have a committee who's knowledgeable on how to help groups sustain themselves is the first thing that has to happen. And also having a committee where people know their names, where people can see them and feel that they can go up to them and ask them questions. That's very important. And a lot of student leaders who contacted me back said that was very important to them. And I'm having a meeting tomorrow with Seth Glickman, and he's the webmaster for the BSG right now. And we're talking about ways that we can get student groups, in order to be sustainable, to have websites. So speaking to these groups and offering them different avenues and opportunities to have their group become successful, to keep membership, to enrich the campus is the first thing I would do. Have a good committee.
Thank you, Sam. Are there questions from the audience? There's applause. Are there any questions? Nicole?
I think this question is fair, but I just want to be sure. But I just want to know, because I know, Sam, that you left the BSG this year, and so I kind of want to know how you're going to make time for this commitment for next year, and why you feel like this is going to be different than when you were in the BSG before.
This previous year, I became chair of the Japan America Student Conference, which is an international program. And as chair, I lead a committee of 8 Americans and 8 Japanese students to bring over 33 Japanese students with 33 Americans with a $200,000 budget. And upon getting that opportunity, I realized that someone else could be the IHC rep for Howell House and also for the other house that I was serving on at that time. And I felt that that was an opportunity to enhance my leadership skills. But even though I left my position as the IHC rep, I never left BSG. As some of you know, I'm one of the co-leaders for the block party that's happening this weekend. You should all go. So even though I had to step down from my position, I never left what I knew that I was dedicated to, and that was BSG programming at that time.
Okay, thank you. We're going to do a minute for concluding statements. We'll start with Hannah.
I think that when electing a candidate to this position, it's important to remember that the Student Organizations Oversight Committee is complicated, and that at one time there could be 80 or more clubs chartered on this campus, and it's going to be a lot of work and take a lot of time and responsibility. And I think that it's important that the person who steps into this job is someone with experience who's proven their commitment on the BSG. I've done that by being the only candidate for this position who has served a full-year term, and I've been handed a lot of responsibility, even as a freshman. The upperclassmen on the BSG have trusted me to do this. I've served on this committee this year. I've seen its successes. I've seen its failings. I know the foundation that it's built off, and I think that in order for, and because I know that, I think that I know where it can be improved and expanded and made to be the great committee that it can be.
Thank you, Hannah. Sam, you have a minute for concluding statement.
Thank you. I have been a club leader on this campus since my freshman year, and I've gone through the charter process with SOOC. And with doing that, I can see where other club leaders I can sympathize with them, I can empathize with them and the process and how they view it and how they've seen the SOOC for the past 3 years. And I am willing to and dedicated to reaching out to them to see how it needs to change. I'm excited about it. Like the SOC as is, it's done, it's leaps and bounds in the past 3 years. But people need to see our faces. People need to know that they can come out and speak to us. That's the most important thing. And club leaders right now don't feel that they can. And it's that change that I'm going to give to this. And also having a committee that reflects the campus. Not just a couple members, but that a strong committee of students who are also excited about this. Who are not on the BSG for other positions, but to be on the SOOC.
Thank you, Sam. The Race for Student Affairs debate is up next.